Lucy's Kitchen. It's Lucy's Kitchen. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Lucy's Kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen. It's Lucy's Kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen. Oh yeah. Lucy's Kitchen. She's Lucy and she's got a kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen.
And now that we've got your attention, let's cook. Hi, welcome to Lucy's Kitchen. I'm Lucy, and this is my kitchen. Today, I'm going to make something very special that my husband adores. It's his mother's potato salad. And the reason I'm going to make it is because tomorrow is his birthday. And I just love making him special treats for his birthday. So we'll just go ahead and get started right away. I wanted to mention that his mother is a fabulous cook, and I am so lucky to have been able to learn some of her recipes. She is what I would call a classic American cook. She's from South Dakota and thinks nothing of throwing a ton of flour on a counter and making some biscuits and frying up some chicken and so forth. And usually that comes with potato salad. So that's what we're having today. So you start off, of course, boiling potatoes. And what I do is I like to pick really nice fresh potatoes that have a thin skin. And my very favorite potatoes to use are Yukon Golds. They are absolutely the most delicious in my opinion. But you can use any potatoes that you happen to have handy. You just put them in a pot of water and bring it to a boil. Once it's boiling, you cook them, you turn it down a little, and then you simmer them for about 20 to 25 minutes. What you want to do is you want to take your knife and stick it in the potato so it kind of goes in but doesn't just like slide in. You don't want them to be mushy. You want them to be a little bit firm, but not raw, if that makes any sense. So, you'll practice, and if it turns out at 20 minutes they're still hard, let them go for another 5 minutes. Or what I do sometimes is just turn off the stove and let them sit in the hot water for a while. If they're slightly warm, it's better for making the salad anyway. The next thing we want is to have some celery. And what I look for is nice, green, firm, none of that wiggly stuff. See, this one doesn't wiggle. And then I trim off any icky, pieces that this one, like this one has is just a little tiny strip of yuck. And just take that off. If you want, you can take all the strings off. You can just do that by pulling. But they don't. But they're fine in the potato salad. In fact, they help the celery stay firm. And then we want some green onions. Green onions are a lovely shortcut because if you wash them thoroughly and peel off the little bits and cut off the tops, you will have a very sweet flavored onion, and yet at the same time it has a lot of flavor, so you don't need to use a lot of onion. And then finally we want some hard-boiled eggs, and I've got a couple right here which we will cut up in a second. So we'll get started. I think what I'd like to do is start with the potatoes. So I'm going to put these right back here. And what you do is you take your, I like to use my potatoes with the skins. Now, some people don't care for skins. Feel free to peel them off. Actually, they almost slide right off once you get started, if they're cooked enough. So anyway, take your paring knife and just peel off a little bit of the part where you might have a potato eye or some sort of, indentation that you don't want. If it's hard, you don't want it. Just peel that off and kind of prep them a little bit, and then do the same with the other potato. Now I've got two different potatoes here, and you can do a combination of potatoes. You can use red potatoes, you can use Idaho potatoes, and as I said, these gold potatoes are my favorites. You may have heard of Yukon Gold, that's a brand name, but any kind of gold potato will work. and I think they have the best flavor. They're just my favorite. Also, these potatoes came from the farmer's market just the other day, and that means that they were picked out of the ground maybe a week ago. So these are like the best in my opinion. Okay, so these potatoes are ready now to be cut up. And so you want everything to be about, I would say about a half an inch. So you start to slice, and I kind of go lengthwise because then you have a nice flat piece, and you can cut that into the pieces that you want. So what can I say? Just, cut it up, and you'll end up with a size piece about like that, which is perfect. And so just get going. Anyway, I love potato salad myself. In fact, I would say that it is my drug of choice. So when my mother-in-law discovered that I like potato salad, she would make it for me at every occasion whenever I would see her, and I couldn't do anything but eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, you name it. I had my face in the potato salad. So I actually have ulterior motives here in that I am going to enjoy this potato salad every bit as much as my husband will. So once we get it all cut up, we will put it into the bowl, the mixing bowl, and just start to layer our ingredients. Okay, so I boiled potatoes earlier, and I cut them up already because you don't have to watch me cut up 3 pounds of potatoes. And so I'm throwing them all in there. I've got a little more cutting to do. Okay, now if you happen to have one of these, makes it easy to transfer food. Oops, I'm banging my knives, that's okay. All right, that's the potatoes. Now the next step is the celery. So the celery, again, I'm going to move this so you can see. The celery is a wonderful addition because it gives crunch and color. And in this case, you want this to be a little bit smaller than the potatoes. So I'll take one celery strip and cut it into 3 and then dice it. And when you dice celery, the smaller the better. It doesn't have to be, like tiny, but this is, perhaps you can see, these are very small, 1/4 inch at the most. And they're the perfect size because unless you really love chunks of celery, it's the way to go. So I've already cut up 4 or 5 stalks of celery, and it is waiting for me in this cup, which we will add in a second. So finish chopping that up. All right. So again, use my scooper and throw the celery into the bowl. Okay, it's getting pretty full. This is a lot of potato salad. Now I'm going to do the onions. Again, we want them to be very small. Now, with green onions, sometimes you get a bigger bulb. This isn't too big, but I'm going to cut it in half anyway. So you just kind of use your knife, cut it in half just at the top so that when you slice it, it slices down smaller. And actually, you can do 4 or 5 of these at the same time. Save yourself some trouble. You don't have to chop each one and la-di-da. So there you go. All right. Now, I forgot to tell you that I've already chopped some onions. So there it goes, right in there. We don't have to do all of it this minute. Okay, next it is a secret ingredient. And so what we want to do is we want to dice up these tiny little dill pickles. Now, this recipe calls for a couple of small dill pickles, and I personally love kosher dills. They're just I like the flavor of them. So these are kosher dills. I've already cut one up. I'll go ahead and dice it. Now this is a little tricky, And you might want to use a smaller knife, which I'm going to. So you cut it in half, cut that in thirds, and just get that all chopped up. That's going to give a little tang to the salad that won't be immediately identifiable, but it'll be there. And it's what makes this salad very tasty. So it's one of the things, of course, not the only thing. All right, and then here's the rest of that. Okay, now my next step is to cut up the eggs. So this recipe calls for 4 hard-boiled eggs. 3 of the hard-boiled eggs get chopped up and put into the salad, and 1 of them gets sliced up and then decorates the top of the salad. So I'm going to show you how to chop one, and then I'll show you how to slice one, which I'm sure you can figure out yourself, but you're watching me. So here's the egg. And again, I just cut it in thirds. You could use a smaller knife if it makes it easier for you. And there we go. All right. And so I've already chopped up several eggs. And so there they go, right in there. I'm going to add this. And then, actually, I'll bring that little cup back because it'll be handy. I'm going to take the egg and very carefully slice it into, I don't know, 4 or 5 pieces. And so there's a couple there. And this is going to be the decoration on top of the bowl, if you can manage it. Anyway, so I'm putting this into this cup for later. Try to just stack them so that they don't fall apart. And if they fall apart, oh well, it's not the end of the world. But anyway, so there you go. All right, now we're done with all the chopping. Mixing up the salad is very important because you don't want it to get completely smushed when you add the salad dressing. So what I do is I just take a big spoon, reach all the way down, and kind of toss it gently. And you do it with your hands, but I don't know. I think this works better. It really helps to distribute all the vegetables and all of the and the egg and everything. And then and once this is completed, which only takes about 3 or 4 turns. Okay. You want to sort of make sure that you end up with some of the chopped onion and celery at the top of the bowl, like that. All right. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to mix the salad dressing, which is it's really, really easy. And so we start with a 2/3 of a cup of Miracle Whip. Now, Miracle Whip has its own seasoning. And for this particular recipe, my mother-in-law calls for Miracle Whip. If you want to use mayonnaise, then you'll have to enhance the flavor a little bit. So I'll explain how that works. So that's about 1/4 of a cup. And I want 2/3. So I'm going to just scoop it in there until it looks right. Now, I happen to know how much 2/3 is. And I think that's about it. Okay. And if I need a little more mayo, I'll put it in. Then the next step is to take some pickle juice. So we're going to take a couple of, where are my measuring spoons? Ah, here they are. Okay, actually, before I get to the pickle juice, I'm going to add some seasonal, or you can use salt and pepper. You don't have to use seasonal. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of seasonal. Then you can also add pepper. I'm not going to because seasonal has it in. I'll taste it later and decide whether it needs it. The other thing we need is some yellow mustard. About, a couple of teaspoons worth. That's about right. And then the pickle juice. So now the pickle juice, we definitely want a couple of teaspoons of it. So you take it from the jar where you got your pickles and Just add it in. And I've got a nice little whisk here, which helps me to stir it, make it flow, and get it nice and smooth. Now, one of the problems I've found with mayonnaise is that it's not seasoned enough. And sometimes it's thicker. And so what I like to do is add a little tiny bit, and I'm going to just go ahead and add it to this, even though we don't really need it, but I'm going to add a little tiny bit of oil. That's maybe half a teaspoon of olive oil to make this mixture a little creamier. And then finally, I'm going to just add a couple of dashes of red wine vinegar. Now again, we don't need this. It's just because I'm demonstrating what you would do if you were using mayo. On the other hand, if you like a little extra tanginess, it does achieve that. All right, this is ready to mix. Now I'm going to scoop it onto the potato salad. Now this doesn't look like much dressing, but once you gently mix it, you'll see that it's the perfect amount. I'm just going to use a spatula and pour it over the top. And before I do anything in terms of mixing, I definitely want to taste this. So here's a clean spoon. Not bad. Let's see if it needs anything. The only thing I might put in it is a little bit of freshly ground pepper, but I think I will. So I'm going to go get my pepper grinder. All right. Now, this is a Turkish coffee grinder. I love this thing. I bought it at a Greek church bazaar. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. My mother used to tell me about these things because I'm Greek. And so what they used to do is they'd fill the top with, fill the top with coffee. Oh, that's nice. And then grind away, and you get this like super dusty, fine coffee, which is what Turkish coffee is all about. And I've made a bit of a mess, but that's okay. Just wipe it up, go on from there. Anyway, so instead I fill mine with peppercorns. And what I love about this, because I have several different kinds of pepper grinders, but what I like about this one is it enables you to make a lot of ground pepper all at the same time. And in my case, we absolutely need a little bit more ground. In fact, sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll grind up a whole bunch and just put it into a pepper shaker. Anyway, so here we are, and it has a little handle. You just turn it around a few times. You can hear it grinding. Okay, and this is going to have produced, I would say, about less than a teaspoon of, I think we want to clean that. Okay, about a teaspoon or less. Okay, now I'm looking at that. That's about half a teaspoon, and that's actually great. That's the perfect amount. All right, now go ahead and mix it up. And again, remember to be gentle. We don't want this to turn into a mashed potato salad. And now, if you're using warm potatoes, the dressing absorbs right into the potato. It might still, even if they're not totally warm, but makes it very, very nice. And it keeps it from being too liquidy. So sometimes the nice thing to do is to cook the potatoes and drain them, let them cool off for about 10-15 minutes, and then cut them up if you can stand it. So as I said, this potato salad looks the way it should. And there's plenty of dressing on it. And now I'll get a fork, give it a try. Yum. That is good. Okay, now at this point, you can put it into a serving bowl and then smooth the top. I'm going to use a wet paper towel, and I'm going to just clean the edge of this bowl. I'm going to pretend this is my serving bowl today. So we're just going to clean the edge. The reason is that this is for tomorrow, and I don't want to put it in a serving bowl until I'm ready to serve it. So then take some of your good Hungarian paprika and sprinkle it over the top for color. And then finally, take your hard-boiled eggs that are waiting to be used as decoration. You can actually use more eggs if you want. And by the way, you can use more celery, you can use more onion. It's all really what you like, what your family likes. So I'm just making these into a little square. And here we have it. Potato salad from my husband's mother's recipe book. And she is also a Lucy, so we're a double Lucy's Kitchen today. Thanks for joining us. Come back, subscribe, make sure you like us, and join us for future yummy recipes from our family to yours. See you next time.